whole idea of scenario planning started about 50 years ago when the senior leadership at Shell, they looked at what was happening in the world and they realized that there was some uncertainty in the world. So if you think about 50 years ago, the 70s and 80s, there were things like what if Jimmy Carter becomes president of the USA? What if there's war in the Middle East? What if the OPEC countries restrict the supply of oil? So as leaders, they said, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's find out. So what they did was they took 3 guys and put them in a room for 6 months and said, go and do all the research, find out what's likely to happen in the future, and then come back and report to us. And they did. So they spent their time, they came back with a number of scenarios and how likely they are, and the management said, this is fantastic, which of them is going to happen? And these 3 guys said, no, that's not the way it works. We've given you some plausible scenarios. Make sure you factor them into your plans. So that's how that whole process of scenario planning was born. Now, there are some reasons why, and it's a really valuable process, but there are reasons why we can't use that process anymore exactly the way that it was done. Okay, so I'm going to ask you in a minute to type in the chat why that process is flawed. Okay, so let me give you a couple of examples. So one is they had 6 months to do it. Okay, we just don't have the luxury now of having 6 months to do that. Here's another reason. It was all blokes. All right, so now, of course, we need to leverage the diversity and the unique perspectives of lots of different people because they all have insights that can help us in our planning. And here's the other one. Another one is that they didn't have any accountability. So they did the work, then they handballed it to the senior leadership and they said, okay, it's off our hands now. But increasingly, all of us as leaders and in our role, whatever our role in the organization, we're responsible for understanding about the future. We can't just send it off to a scenario planning team. Okay, what are some other reasons? So we've said too long, absolutely, so that's one. What else? Type in the chat why else that process is not the same process we'd follow now. Yep, so exponential increase in the number of variables, and similarly the world's more connected, absolutely. Yep, and we don't know, so it's harder to plan for scenarios in the future. Melissa, there's ongoing recalibration. Yeah, some of the disruptors, Rebecca, are definitely less predictable than they were at the time. So again, we're seeing common things here. The world's changing far faster as well. Okay, thank you, everyone.